Hello and welcome to the first Greek Diaspora Fellowship Program webinar for Cycle 4 for the potential host universities. I'm Dylan Gibson. I work at the Institute of International Education, or IIE, and we are offering the Greek Diaspora Fellowship Program on behalf of its sponsor, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and in cooperation with our partner, the Fulbright Foundation in Greece. The Greek Diaspora Fellowship Program is a relatively new program. We've gone through two cycles, complete cycles. We're in the fourth cycle of applications right now, and the third cycle is currently being evaluated. The GDFP is a scholar fellowship program, meaning a scholar exchange program. Participants are expected to hold terminal degrees and work in the higher education sector. The purpose of this is for Greek universities, Greek institutions, any degree conferring higher education institution in Greece to be able to invite Greek diaspora scholars living in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa to visit those universities and to work on collaborative projects together. As I mentioned, the program is funded by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and my organization, IIE, manages it in cooperation with the Fulbright Foundation in Greece. So the first two cycles of the program were back in 2017, and we supported 49 fellowships. And the current cycle, cycles 3 and cycle 4 that are happening now, we're expecting to support up to 80 fellows over those two selection cycles. So cycle 4 is now open. We're accepting applications, and the deadline for cycle 4 applications is January 15th of 2020. The way this program works is it's a two-sided process. On the one side, on the host side, which is who this webinar is specifically for, hosts submit project requests. So hosts design a project and submit the details of that project to us through the online application system about what they would like a diaspora fellow to come and work on at the university in Greece. On the other side of the program, a separate application is submitted by the scholars. So the Greek diaspora scholars living in one of those 5 countries, they submit to us essentially their CV, their scholar snapshot. What are their qualifications? The goal here is to find a match between the request, the project requested, and the scholar's expertise and disciplinary focus. So in the project request, as a Greek university, you can name a specific person and cooperate with them on writing the project. Or if you're a university who doesn't have the connections you'd like us to try to develop one for you or find someone for you, you can submit your project request without naming anyone specifically. At the same time, scholars don't have to have a project to apply. Scholars can submit their applications at any time, and then hopefully there's a match out there for them. So the basic eligibility requirements are for host universities. We are looking for any degree conferring higher education institution in Greece. So research centers and think tanks that do not offer degrees would not be eligible hosts on their own, but any university that offers degrees, post-secondary degrees, would be eligible as long as they're in Greece. The other side of the program for the scholars, the eligibility requirements are that the scholar must have been born in Greece or Cyprus, or be citizens of Greece or Cyprus. And they should be living in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa. Scholars should have a terminal degree, and they should be currently working as an academic at an accredited university or college in one of those 5 countries. So the program sponsors three types of activities. And so each of our projects should contain and suggest one or more of these activities. So the eligible activities are curriculum co-development, research collaboration, or graduate or undergraduate research mentoring and teaching. There are no limits to the fields of study that you can pursue with the GDFP project. We support everything from medical sciences to the humanities to social sciences, STEM. There's no restriction there. And as I said, the activities are the three eligible activities. You can propose all of those, or only one of those, or any combination therein. The timeline for this is the cycle 4 timeline in the review process. So our deadline for cycle 4 is January 15th, 2020. Tech review will take place, meaning a tech review, when we say tech review, we mean the basic review of completeness and eligibility. So that will happen probably until early February 2020. We'll read the applications. We give you time. If you don't have the right letter or the letter didn't get submitted, we'll give you a little extra time to try to get that letter in. So that's tech review is done by IIE internally. And it's just, like I said, an eligibility check and a completeness check. So those complete and eligible projects and applications will then be sent to peer reviewers. So we'll have, we endeavor to find Greek diaspora academics who are familiar with Greece and who have different disciplinary focuses to serve as peer reviewers. Some of them will be alumni of the GDFP already. So they will recommend or not recommend the projects that have been submitted in cycle 4. They want to make sure, we'll talk about what goes into the peer review process. Then after the peer reviewers are done, when the peer reviewers make their recommendations, those recommendations go to an advisory council. The advisory council meets twice a year for the GDFP, and that's when they look at those recommended projects and choose the ones that will be funded. The advisory council also has other responsibilities in terms of governance of the program. So once the advisory council meeting has happened and the selections are made, we'll send notifications in May, and then projects can begin as early as June 1st and must be completed by February 15th of 2021. So here's the review criteria that I just mentioned. First of all, of course, we're looking for the quality of the proposed project. Quality is kind of a broad term, but we're looking for things like, is the research well designed? Is this something that is sort of current in the field? Does this project require face-to-face collaboration, or is this something that can be done over Skype? So quality is an important primary component of the project. Secondly, we're looking for evidence of mutual benefit for both the host university and the scholar. So it's important that these are not one-sided collaborations. Next, appropriateness of time proposed for the project visit. So between 14 and 90 days, these projects last between 14 and 90 days. And what we want to see, and our reviewers want to see, is that the activities we've proposed are appropriate for the time frame that you've proposed. So, filling 2 weeks with overambitious activities is not seen as positively, nor is a 90-day project which doesn't have a lot of activity. So we're just looking to make sure that you're using the time appropriately. We're looking for fit and quality of the scholar match. So if you submit a project and you're requesting a scholar, we want to see that the scholar actually has the skills and the experience to perform the activities that you expect of him or her. This is a way to make sure we're not just sort of rewarding acquaintanceships, and that we're rewarding and identifying good scholarship and good scholars to accomplish really positive and constructive projects. An important more recent addition to the review criteria is the potential for impacts and sustainability. We want to see that these projects will both make an impact on the university now, and also that they're going to have some aspect of sustainability after the GDFP funding period is over. So what are your future collaborations and how you support them? What do you have planned for the future? We'd like to see that in terms of in the project requests. Projects and scholar applications are required to have support letters. So for the host institutions, it's very important to have either one letter of support that's signed by the department head and the rector of the university, or two letters, one from the department head and one from the rector. We recognize that the rector is a very important person, the sort of leader of the university. I will say that in cycle 3, this requirement was in place in cycle 3, and we had a lot of rectors who showed a lot of support for the GDFP, which we're very grateful for. And so many rectors are familiar with this requirement, and they will produce a letter for you, but I would encourage you to get in touch with them early about the possibility. And on the scholar side, their scholars also have to get a letter of recommendation, which should be from someone at the level of dean or higher. So since this is a webinar for hosts, I'll repeat that the host institution has to get a letter from the department head and the rector of the university, or one letter that's signed by both the department head and the rector. So it's one or two letters, but two signatures. We have some different kinds of fellowship types, the different kinds of projects that you can submit. First, we have the All Discipline Fellowship, which is just what we call the standard fellowship. So this is just open to all disciplines, open to any of the standard information we've seen so far. Next, we have multi-institutional projects. Now, this is a way that if you want to work with another university in Greece or a research center or a think tank, you can collaborate with them on a multi-institutional project. So only one project request will be submitted to the online platform, but it will reflect the wishes of two universities for one scholar to come and work at both institutions. It's a great idea to have a timeline in your project. If you could tell us especially if the universities or institutions are geographically separated, it's a good idea to tell us, 2 weeks at this place, 2 weeks at that place. Tell us what you'll pursue. Of course, if you're in the same location or near the same location, it's not necessary to do that. But this is an option for one scholar to come to multiple institutions in Greece. The flip side of that, then, is the cohort project, in which one institution can apply for multiple scholars to come to do one project. So there's no limit here to how many people that you can invite, but we do an application from each scholar. The scholars can be from the same university or from different universities, and the scholars can be in the same field, but we'd imagine that they'd have different subfields. The point here is that each scholar's participation needs to be justified. What is each scholar bringing uniquely to the project, and why you're requesting that person? And finally, we have something we call the flexible fellowship, which allows a scholar to visit the same university more than once. So each visit should be a minimum of 14 days. The whole project should be no more than 90 days. But for different kinds of research, for different kinds of proposals, it might make sense if your fellow visited university for 2 weeks in the summer, and then came back 2 weeks in the fall to follow up on whatever work that you're doing together. The one condition here is that the host university or the fellow's home university in the US, Canada, South Africa, Australia, or New Zealand should cover the second airfare. The GDFP program will not cover the second airfare, and the scholar isn't allowed to pay for it themselves. So we want to see the institutional support for the project, and so the university in Greece or the fellow's home university should pay for the second airfare. The benefits of the program for the scholar especially are a stipend for the fellow for each day between 14 and 90 days. We have a project materials allowance, and I'll talk more about this later. Supplemental health insurance for the scholar, and the scholar receives round-trip international airfare and ground transportation to and from the airport in their home country. The project materials allowance is a new initiative, a new innovation for the program. If the project is recommended for final selection, if the project is selected, then you can submit a budget for a project materials allowance that will be considered by the advisory council. So here's some basic FAQs that we have. Do the institutions have to have graduate programs? No, in fact, as long as they offer a degree in Greece, it's absolutely fine. They just have to be degree conferring institutions. Are there a maximum number of potential fellows that can participate in a cohort project? As I mentioned before, the cohort projects allow a university one university in Greece to submit a project that asks for more than one scholar to participate in it. And no, there's no limit there. However, we do want to see that each of the scholars are justified for being part of the project. They are bringing something unique to the collaboration. A question, can a diaspora scholar be named in more than one project request per selection cycle? The answer to that is no, unfortunately not. Each scholar can only be named in one project request. So if you are working with a Greek diaspora scholar on a project request now, and you know that person's also collaborating with other universities in Greece, it's a good idea to look into the option of a multi-institutional fellowship, as the scholar can only pursue one project per selection cycle. Again, you can submit a multi-institutional project in which the scholar would visit your institution as well as other institutions during the visit, but it has to be one project request rather than several submitted by different universities. How flexible are grant start and finish dates? The dates of the program are very important, especially since we pay a daily stipend. I would encourage you to look really closely at our website for the exact dates, but June 1st is the earliest start date for the program, and February 15th, 2021 is the end date for all Cycle 4 projects. So everything has to be wrapped up by that date. It's also important to notice that we have a few blackout dates in which, because of the fact that we expect universities to be closed, not a lot of people around, we don't want to see projects happening at certain times of the year. This includes the month of August and time around Christmas and New Year's. So you can be in Greece, but you can't be on your fellowship, and we won't pay fellowship funding during blackout periods. Finally, is there a limit to the number of project requests that can be submitted by a host institution in Greece? No, there is no limit there. So the rector of the university has to submit a letter for each one, but there is no limit to the number of universities, number of projects per university each cycle. As I mentioned, the Cycle 4 applications will close on January 15th, 2020, so we do need to receive all your information by then. And again, it's a two-sided process, so projects have to come from the host universities in Greece, and scholar applications have to come from the fellows in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa. And both of those sides have to be completed before January 15th. We would encourage you to look at our website. For Greek institutions, you should find the menu that says apply and then drop down to for Greek institutions. And I think we'll have a lot more information that's very helpful for you. review criteria, FAQs, link to the system where you can submit your applications. We have guidelines that you can download. It's important to note that project requests and applications have to be submitted online. We can't take anything over email, or certainly not by mail. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. And if not, please do feel free to send us an email at any time at greekdiaspora@iie.org. We have a Facebook group and a Twitter at Greek Diaspora FP. We try to keep those active and to give out good information there. So I encourage you to follow us. Any questions? Okay, well, if not, then I'm going to close the webinar now. We really do encourage you to be in touch with us at greekdiaspora.ia.org with any questions that you may have. I wish you good luck, and thanks again for joining us this afternoon.